Benny Jackson with Benny Jackson Designs here in Lubbock, Texas. And I am at home today, and I am antsy to do a little spring floral project. I love yellow Forsythia, and I don't have any growing in my yard, but I am about to create these two urns that are on our mantle, design those with Forsythia. The Forsythia that I ordered came in, and I'm not real happy with it, but I'm going to use it and see if I can salvage it. To be honest, it looks cheap and it's a bush, but we're going to cut it up. As I've told you in previous videos, I pretty much always cut faux botanicals, because if I don't cut them, they look specifically unreal. They look unnatural. So I will be cutting these. I'm also going to be gluing these and adding natural branches. So we're going to see together if we can make something that's very artificial looking look more realistic. So you and I together will see the finished product, and we'll see if we are pleased with the outcome. But as I've told you in previous videos, a lot of times you have criteria. So before you just start making something, figure out where it's going to go, figure out the size you need. So I want some drama, and you're going to see that from the top of my container to the ceiling height, I have 30 inches. So 30 inches is what we're going to work with. Forsythia is very natural and airy, and it's like it just shoots up stems at all different directions and heights. So that's the attempt that I want to happen here. So I don't care if I get a 30-inch branch and it's touching the ceiling and it's coming out, because again, I'm trying to create a little spring drama and color here. So we're going to see what happens. Let's go cut some branches. Now we're out here where traffic is, so I'm not sure you can hear me well. I'll speak fast and loud. This is a cedar elm. Cedar elm is, it's got some thickness to it, but I think this will be okay to give us the illusion of Forsythia. You know, you don't want a big stocky, chunky oak branch, because that's not the look of real Forsythia, but I think this could work. I'm looking at another tree behind us here. Let's go look at it and see if it might be even a little thinner. Yeah, I think this is going to be better. This is going to be better. So, you know, things grow when you get them inside the house. I remember one year we went to cut a fresh Christmas tree, and we were out in the woods, and we cut this tree thinking, oh, it's kind of little, but it'll work. Well, we got it home, and it was touching the ceiling, and it looked mammoth. So when we get these branches in, we'll see. It's going to grow.
Do you think the neighbors care that we're pruning their trees?
Well, this is part of our HOA. So I'll just subtract pruning from my dues. I'm just getting plenty because I don't want to come back and have to get more. I'm doing 2 containers. Although I love symmetry, I'm not trying to match these. I'm not trying to make these look exact, because in nature things are never exact. So I'm not worried that I have the same amount of branches or anything. Have branches will design. Let's go. Does anybody know who that belongs to? Okay, these are the branches that came in, and again, they just don't please me very well, but they're here and I'm going to use them. But I'm going to show you what people are tempted to do sometimes because they don't know better. So know better, do better. You get these flower branches, you're ready for some color, you love yellow, you want an arrangement, and you come home and you don't know what to do with them, so you just poke them in there. And you try your best and you try to get them to stand and see how unnatural that looks. It'd be better not to do anything at all, in my opinion. So this is what we're working with. It's a little 3-branch piece that you're going to see all cut up here in a little bit. As on a previous video, if you're following, I'm using dry foam, not wet foam. I'm not using styrofoam today because this isn't that large. I'm also not going to be hot gluing my foam into the container like I normally do. And I'm not doing that because this is a seasonal floral design. So I will want to be taking this out. I don't want this, you know, in the hot summer. If I get busy with my life and don't remove them, that'll be fine. But anyway, I don't want to glue today. I'm just going to let the container wedge all of this in when it's all said and done. But I do need to cut this foam. And if you are inspired to do your own floral designs, you know, I always encourage you to be set for success. And so you've got to have your tools. You've got to have the proper ingredients, just like baking a cake. Normally I work in my studio, but I'm in my kitchen today. So you saw that I just cut the corners off of this design foam. And by the way, I've got a link for you to check this out on Amazon if you want to order that. Also my Victorinox floral cutting knife. You see that's soft, so it's just going to wedge in there. Now it's loose, and I'm okay with that today because it's not going to fall out, it's not going to make a mess. And when I get these branches in this foam, then it's going to be where I want it today. Okay, we said, what did we say earlier? We have 30 inches. So I don't want it to go past 30 inches. There's 30 inches right there. We're just going to take our first branch. We are not going to be too concerned. I will tell you I have a painting in the center. There's going to be one on each side of this painting on my mantle. So as I see this branch, my concern is I don't want a lot flowing into my painting. So I'm going to take this branch. This one's being built for the left side of my mantle. So I want the branch to go out away from my painting. I made the mistake of, really I should have brought more foam home. I have 2 pieces only, but you know what we're going to do? I see the weight of that branch is going to mess with me. So I do need an extra piece in there to keep it from moving around. Now that's better. As I mentioned, I'm going to let this one come forward. I don't know that you can see that on camera, but this branch is coming forward. My mantle's tall enough, I don't think it's going to be in the headroom. You can tell spring is close because these branches feel very pliable. You can tell the sap's already coming back into them. You even see little buds starting to form. this in here, my trash, if you will. Something else that is linked below, if you're going to do this, probably one of the most important things in the realm of tools for floral design is a great pair of wire cutters. This is Knipex. So they cut stems very easily. So if you have issues with weak hands or carpal tunnel or arthritis in your hands, you specifically need a good pair of wire cutters, and I highly recommend Knipex. You know, I also see there's a couple of little buds on the end of that, so I cut them so I could have a cleaner insertion into my foam. Okay. Now this is very natural and moves around a lot. There's lots of movement. And I want this to really feel like I went out and cut fresh Forsythia branches. It's very elementary, but some people forget. Cut those tags off. All right, as I told you, I always cut my artificial branches up. So there's my first branch. Just gonna go ahead and put that in there. That's already fallen off, but we're gonna use that. See what I'm doing? I'm putting a bend to these, nothing sharp, it's just kind of curvy, but look at these natural branches, how they have movement to them. Because I'm needing that 30-inch height. I'm not cutting any of the length of that stem, I'm using it all. I think what we're going to do, we're going to come in here. I don't know that I've mentioned floral tape to you guys. This is called, it's a twig brown color. It comes in dark green and light green and comes in white and red and all colors, but I use a lot of twig green or moss green, it may be called. And then the brown and a light green. Again, that'll be linked up if you are interested. But it's just a floral tape that when you start to wrap a branch and you tug on this tape, it sticks to itself. I'm pulling it as I'm taping and it's sticking to itself. And when it's all said and done, you won't typically really notice this. And if you did start to notice it, we could come back in with some moss and just camouflage our tape, but this is pretty close to the color of this branch. Okay, you saw earlier I allowed this one branch to come forward. I feel like in my room, if I tape it way out here, that's going to be farther than I want it. So I'm just going to come back and take that branch a little bit. Now I'm going to tape this to that branch. And I think the beauty about something like this is you don't have to be specific of your placement at all for the end result to be very pleasing. It's just going to look like we went out into the yard, cut some fresh branches, and they landed in the vase of water very naturally. And we're going to leave them very natural. What we're also going to do is take some of these branches off because they are not hardwired or glued in any way. See how they just come right off? what we can do is come in here and find little tips that fit. We're going to glue it in there, put it in our hot glue pan. You can certainly use a glue gun. I like to use a glue pan. I'm going to cut that off so I have a little tip. If you use a glue pan, I use glue that's intended for a glue pan. It's much less stringy than a glue gun. And the end of that's a little chunky. So we're going to come up here. That glue's still wet. Can you see what's starting to happen? Does it start to appear like it could be a real branch that has fresh spring blooms on it? What I try to do as I go is get those, what I call spider webs. It's glue webs. Because a glue pan does web, but just not as bad as a glue gun. But I like to get those webs as I see them. Because I feel like if you leave those webs on there, and a lot of people do, it just looks very unprofessional in the end design. I think this right here is what's going to make it look the most natural, is by really using the real tree branches that we cut and gluing these little pieces on to the natural stem. Oh, I just broke that one. Again, because my criteria on this was my mantle, so obviously I can't put a lot on the back side because I don't have that much depth, nor do I need it because it's not going to show. So always consider where something's going to go to determine your placement of things. You know, Forsythia, naturally, it always puts on your yellow blooms first and then it leaves out. So, you know, during the summertime, you just have a green bush and not a yellow bush. But you start to see little green leaves appear along with the yellow. So every once in a while, we're just going to put a little green stem. And I don't want many. And I'm not even trying to put them in really dominant spots. We're going to have a hint of green here and there. So we're pretty much using everything that we paid for. We're just using it in a different way because we want it to feel natural. I use that word a lot, but that's what we're going for. That's what the end goal is trying to be. And I think faux botanicals, especially for designers, gets a bad rap sometimes. My goodness, I love live plants and fresh flowers, but we can't always have fresh. And when we can't, good faux botanicals are a great option. So if you're really against them, that's okay, but don't let someone else tell you to be against them. If you enjoy them, if you enjoy color and floral, but you don't have a green thumb, or you're really busy in your life and don't have time to take care of live things, I just don't feel like there's anything wrong with throwing in some artificial. Another good way to camouflage those areas where you tape is just to take a little flowerette, just a single little bloom, and just hot glue over those taped areas. So some of these little guys that fell off, I'm just going to glue them over, but I'm not worried about trying to cover every last piece of that tape, because I think when it's all said and done and this is sitting in its place, you won't notice the tape, but that just helps soften it. I think I had ordered 10 branches. So I planned on 5 branches for each container. Obviously this takes a little more time, but if you're using artificial and you want it to look real, the time's worth it. Sheet moss in there to cover the mechanics, and it just gives it that little finishing touch. Spring green. And now we're ready to go take it and put it in place. You like? I've just finished the second one. You may notice that this one is possibly not as full as the first one, and I love that about this because I, again, am trying to mimic something that's very natural and So I'm okay that they're not exact. In fact, normally if I'm making two companion pieces or exact pieces, I'll make one, set it to the side, and continually look at it and do a mirror image of the second one. But that's not what I wanted the look to be in this case. So they're both going to have their own look. I wanted to thank you for tuning in to Benny Jackson Designs. And if you find this inspiring, subscribe to our channel. And if you want notifications for the next one, just hit that little bell below. Thanks again.